King William I, or William the Lion, is Scotland's longest reigning medieval monarch. But despite his near half-century reign, he didn't have any spectacular achievements such as organising garden parties or talking at Christmas time. In fact, William is often remembered as Scotland's worst ever king, which, considering the company he's keeping there, is really quite something. That's like being the Liz Truss of 21st century Conservative leaders, except if Liz Truss reigned for 49 years instead of 49 days. William's greatest obsession was the lands of Northumberland, which are in modern-day northern England, but in the 12th century existed in the marchlands between the two kingdoms, and they were contested by both Scotland and England. Nobody really knew whether Northumberland was Scottish or English. It was the kind of Rod Stewart part of the British Isles. In 1174, William joined a rebellion against the English king Henry II in the hope that he could get the lands of Northumberland back for Scotland. Instead, he was captured at Alnwick Castle and he was imprisoned in a French dungeon for 5 months. The conditions of William's release from prison were laid out in the Treaty of Falaise, which stated that he had to give up his claims to Northumberland and he had to swear fealty for a Scottish kingdom to Henry II. This meant that Scotland was now a vassal kingdom of England, and the Scottish leader had to pay homage to his supreme overlord in London. It's the same system that the Scottish Labour Party employs. The Treaty of Falaise had created claims of English overlordship over Scotland that would be used by a succession of English monarchs thereafter, and is still used by English people in Scotland to this day to claim their free prescriptions. The English king Henry II would take any opportunity he could to extract homage from William, and he humiliated him at every turn. William's greatest humiliation came in 1186, when Henry actually chose William's wife for him. Now, I don't know anything about William's wife Gertrude. All I know is that if I was going to choose my mortal enemy's wife for them, I'm probably going to go down the Katie Hopkins route. If William did have one outstanding achievement, then it was his foundation of the spectacular abbey at Arbroath in 1178. Arbroath Abbey is dedicated to the Archbishop of Canterbury, Sir Thomas Becket. And you might be wondering, why would a Scottish king dedicate an abbey in Arbroath to the Archbishop of Canterbury? Sir Thomas Becket was the leading figure in the court of Henry II, and Henry had promoted him to the position of Archbishop of Canterbury. But almost immediately, Becket, he started to argue for the rights of the church and the separation of state and church. And so, in 1170, Becket, he was murdered in Canterbury Cathedral by 5 knights acting on the behalf of Henry II. Becket's murder sent shockwaves across Europe, and he quickly became a martyr. And even worse for Henry, people then started to report miracles occurring at his tomb. And so, in 1173, Thomas Becket was made a saint, and Henry was now the king that most people viewed as being the man who killed a saint. In 1174, Henry II gave public penance for the death of Thomas Becket. Just 4 years later, William dedicated the foundation of the most important building in Scotland to Sir Thomas Becket, purely because he knew that Henry absolutely despised him. But after making public penance for his death, there was nothing that Henry could do about it. Dedicating an important public building in Scotland to someone that the royal family had killed, but were now publicly pretending to mourn the death of, it would be like if we had dedicated the Scottish Parliament to Princess Diana. It was an incredibly subtle fuck you from the Scottish king to Henry II, and it was probably the only subtle thing that William managed to pull off throughout his entire 49-year reign. Bran and I, rather stupidly, opted to visit Arbroath Abbey on a Wednesday while it's temporarily closed. But if you do make the decision to visit this spectacular abbey, you'll note that William opted to have himself buried here at Arbroath at the abbey he founded in 1178.